Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Privacy Podcast. I'm Ben Schiller with Miden, and we're going to be talking a little bit about AI today, and particularly intents, which we're going to get into as a subject very important for the new UX of crypto and probably the UX of the internet in general. And we're going to be talking about how that applies to privacy in particular, obviously. So I want to welcome to the show Akshit Ostwal. He's from Epoch Protocol, which is leading on the leading edge of building intent systems and is actually working with Miden. We're going to be talking about that partnership later, but welcome to the show, Akshit.
Thanks a lot, Ben, for inviting me to the show.
Absolutely. So just tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into crypto, and particularly how did you get into developing Epoch? And I want to ask you, obviously, I know what an intent is. I think most people do know roughly what it means, but we hope you can explain it a bit more under the hood for us. But how did you get started with all of this?
Yeah, so I got into crypto back in 2017, 2018, like really early days of Web3, Ethereum, Bitcoin, everything. I started reading the Bitcoin white paper when I was in uni, and then I started writing Ethereum smart contracts, Solidity, and hackathons and stuff like that. Then me and my co-founder who's still with me at Epoch, Abhimanyu, we started our first company called Orange Wallet. We scaled it up a multi-chain mobile wallet, uh, which covers all the top chains out there. We had good user base. Later on, we got acquired for that product. So we sold it to a big centralized exchange company and we worked for that. And then while working on the wallet product itself and working in that centralized exchange, we understood a lot more deeper questions and problems that people were facing on the retail side of the things, that retail doesn't actually understand what Web3 is. We were onboarding all this new retail users onto Web3. They do not understand what swap are, what bridge are. And once they come on chain or they see all this different swap, bridges, chains, taps out there, they get a little bit overwhelmed that, hey, there are like thousands of this out there. How do I use this and how do I use that? So that's where we stuck into another problem that we can solve. And that's where the idea of Epoch originated. It started as an automation protocol that, hey, what if someone wants to automate the transaction? And then it later on,
Right.
we dug deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And then we understood that this is not an automation problem. It's just an understanding problem, that how user experience are there in Web3. So yeah, that's how Epoch started. And we have been building it for past 2.5 years right now.
Well, I've been in crypto like 11 years, and it's always confused me when I come to actually use it. So I'm quite appreciative to see it getting easier, which you're helping with. So just to kind of unpack that a little bit, I mean, at the moment, if I want to say move my USDC from one chain to another chain, I have to do that with a complicated series of maneuvers. But with an intent broadly, you're telling the computer what to do, right? You're saying, I want to move my ETH, you're not selling it, I need to use this bridge or this chain, et cetera, et cetera. Just kind of break it down for us like that.
Yep. So the first thing that we have to understand, if we talk about the normal vanilla user out there, right? They don't care about the transactions or which chain they want to use, which dApp they want to use. They just care about the outcome. That
Right.
in your example, I want this token on this chain. That's it. I want to use this tap. I want to pay him. I want to pay this merchant. I want to pay for this coffee. They just care about that. They do not care. They do not want to, and they do not care about the tech behind that, all these things. If you look at all these biggest companies out there who are working on the infrastructure side, on the traditional finance and the Web2 world, no one really cares about whether the servers are running on AWS or Google Cloud, or if the server is using an NVIDIA chip, or what kind of thing the servers are using. They just care about that, hey, if I'm using this application, it's delivering groceries to my home. That's all I wanted. I wanted a bread and I wanted milk. It's getting me bread and milk, right? And all the Web3 companies out there all talking about scaling and then this fast TPS and all these things. That's not what users are looking out for usually. They are just looking out to complete their outcome. That's where intent comes in, that the intent solvers and intent coordination and orchestration layer like Epoch, we are just building the infrastructure where user or app or anyone out there in Web3 or Web2 world can just come and tell us what they want to do instead of how they want to do, or like use this, use that, and use this. Instead of that, they just come to us and say that, hey, we want to do this stuff. How can we do this? That's the only thing that they have to tell us. Epoch takes care of all the user experience complexity and then take them to one place to another or one position to another in a single click.
Right. I think it's kind of interesting because for a long time, this conversation was around UX, basically making the dashboard of crypto easier to use, right? Like with
Yeah.
better design. But what you're doing is something much more fundamental, which is actually abstracting away the complexity of crypto until it becomes like a real user experience. I want to do this. I want to pay my grandmother, and it does it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can go back and take like two different examples over here. So one case of example is where users know which app they want to use, like what protocol that they want to use and what the end state that they want to achieve. And the another use case is where user just have a starting application like a wallet, and they do not care which end application they want to use. They just want to achieve a single task. So we can differentiate this user into these two things. One is like a trader, they want to trade on hyperliquid, or they want to do derivatives, they want to do poly market, they want to do prediction market, any sort of stuff, right? They know the end position, they just don't care about what the starting point is. They can be whatever place, that they can be holding a fiat currency, they can be holding crypto. And the other use case is they know their starting position, that I'm starting from a fiat or starting from this particular token and things, but I want to access derivatives, right? So epochs, the way we do it, like you have to just define one state at this, at least, that hey, I'm starting from this and I want to go XYZ stuff. And the mid thing can be like just an intent that hey, I want to do this. And based on that thing, we can take care of the user's experience. So if let's say user has already given us the starting position, which is a wallet, and then they have also selected that I'm starting from this asset on this chain, and I just want to have a derivative position open up on Bitcoin or Ethereum. We just go out, find the best derivative platform for them where we can onboard them in a single click. We just give them the same thing to the app that they're using. So we still sit behind the user experience that we have been talking about and that we have been optimizing for the Web3 retail users. It can be either the starting point, like wallets, or can be the endpoint, which is like dApps directly. So we sit behind those user experience, which we have experienced and polished over the past 5 years. And we just help them to reduce the friction to onboard users onto them, and then give users more access to other DeFi solutions out there.
Right. So when users express their intents, that goes into a system of what's called solvers, right? Can you explain
Yeah.
how solving works and how you manage that?
Yeah. So to understand solvers, I can just go in a little bit of history of how solvers came into the picture, and then also comparison of the traditional finance world out there. So the first version of swaps and bridge was started by, let's say, Uniswap. They have the smart contract where they will have a liquidity of token A and token B. If user or anyone wants to swap token A to token B, there has to be a liquidity pool between these two tokens. You give token A, you get token B. The prices are managed by the AMM and the smart contract, right? The V2 version of those things started where there can be a pool of token A and token B over here, and token B and token C over here. The user can come and give token A and then take token C. The prices and the balancing will happen automatically on the smart contract level on chain by Uniswap or like the smart contracts, right? That's where the whole on-chain transaction swap bridge used to work. Like bridge used to just do mint and burn and stake, like this kind of mechanism over there, right? Now with solvers, the things completely change and we shift similar to what TradFi works. So TradFi has all this OTC desk out there, right? Let's say if we talk about Galaxy Digital or any one big banking player out there, they have this OTC desk out there where they hold huge tons of forex currency or whatever assets that the user might want to buy or sell with them, right? They decide on the pricing themselves. So the same thing, solvers have huge liquidity on off-chain wallets or off-chain contracts out there where they hold $1 million worth of USDC, $1 million worth of USDT on different chains. User or app or anyone can just talk with them using an API that, hey, I want to give 100,000 USDT and I want 100,000 USDC. The solver will create the pricing on their own. They'll give whatever pricing that they want to give to the users, and they'll make money on longer run or whatever the pricing model is for them. So that's the same way the traditional finance OTC desk used to work. The same thing is happening in Web3 right now, where there are solvers out there who can do tasks for the users. Now in traditional finance, the solvers will also initiate derivatives positions, future positions, options for this institutions or users out there. The same way, Solvers hasn't reached that state right now in Web3, but with Epoch, we are creating this specialized solvers, which can start future positions, option positions, derivative position, yield bearing vault position for the user, or XYZ other DeFi interaction as well. So far, the whole Web3 has only catch up with using solvers for swaps and bridge, where I give you token A on chain A, the solver will give back me token B on chain D, right? But with Epoch, we take it one step further. We interact with the solvers as well, which can give like token A and token B and multiple different chains. But we also have our own specialized solvers, which can open up positions for the user on behalf of the user. So anything that you can think of DeFi, the specialized solvers will be able to open up positions for you and then give it back to you. So now users do not have to go out and do all this 10 different transactions. Let's say user is starting their journey from token A on chain B and they want to use a dApp or a service which is only live on chain D. Now the user will have to first swap and bridge those assets to chain D and then interact with smart contract and the UI UX and API to start a position on that service on chain D. With Epoch, they can just tell us that, hey, I want to open up a positions on chain D and there's this app. That's it. They can select whichever asset that they want to start from, maybe Forex, maybe a fiat currency as well, and then our solvers will take care of all these jobs. The way it happens is like we coordinate build with multiple solvers. So there can be a solver A, which can give you token A on chain D, then another solver B, which can give you like swap this token A to token B on chain D, and then another third specialized solvers, which is run by Epoch, which can open up the position for them. Now, all these solvers work in a coordination with each other and they never access the user funds. So user funds are always logged in an escrow account first. The solvers fund the transaction for the user. And once the transaction and the user hold the position on chain D service, whatever the service that they want to use, then only the escrow give it back to the solvers and solvers are fulfilled.
So I'm just wondering how this applies to privacy. I mean, privacy, I guess, like UX and like crypto in general, has been notoriously complex in the past. If you really wanted to keep your data and identity secret or confidential, it was quite a kind of technical challenge. And what we're doing at Miden and other projects are doing is reducing that complexity and making it easier for the user. So just talk about how Intense work with Miden and how you're helping us to reduce that privacy complexity.
First of all, why Miden? Because Miden gives you private transaction, which a lot of institutions and banks and like bigger businesses would want privacy for their strategy, for their assets and everything that they want to do on chain. The way Web3 was built is like every transaction was supposed to be public and things like that. But institution doesn't want their strategies, their assets, their holdings, all their positions to be public because that's where their moat is. That's their whole crux of having an institution is, right? They want to keep their strategies private in whatever terms that they're trading or paying to anyone. Similar goes for the payroll systems or anyone who's wanting to do anything in a private manner on Web3. So that's where Miden become a really good fit for Epoch, where Epoch can go live. Now, again, with Epoch, we work on intents, right? And privacy can add on to another outcome on the intent where, let's say, if a user comes in and says this, hey, I want to start this payroll for Ben and I want to pay Ben for X amount of dollars every month, right? I don't want as a company to make this transaction public and everyone knows that how much I'm paying to Ben and then whatever, like Ben also doesn't want that how much am I earning from XYZ company, right? Same things happens for, let's say, trading company comes on to on-chain and they want to trade options or futures on-chain. They would not want their strategies, their positions to be made public on public chains. So they can just come to us and say, hey, we want to open up these positions, but in a private manner. That's open up a new line of intents, a new line of abstraction, and new line of execution for Epoch, where we have this new set of users who want privacy. The privacy is not there on chain right now, and Miden as a chain can provide programmable privacy where everyone can decide how much privacy that they want, and if they want, they can disclose it to the regulatory authorities as well, right? So that becomes a really good use case that how a user or a dApp or institution, anyone can express their intent that I want to do this transaction in a private manner, and it opens up a complete new line of transactions for them. That's where we Epoch comes in with Miden. So let's say if I'm just taking an example, let's say banks or a trading company, trading desk comes in, they hold their assets on Ethereum chain or base chain or whatever XYZ chain or maybe in a fiat currency, and they want to keep their funds private. First, they can just say that, hey, I want to keep the funds on private to Epoch or anyone who is using any wallet that is using Epoch. Then Epoch can give them a route where we are moving their funds from EVM to Miden so that all the funds on Miden and post that are secure and private for them. Later on, when they come back to us and say, hey, we want to open up a positions on a DEX platform, a derivatives platform on EVM or Solana or any other chain out there, right? Now, once the user or this trading desk is leaving again, the funds is leaving the Miden ecosystem, they are again exposed to the public world out there. All the transition, all the activities are going to be public. Now, epochs and intents comes in over there that we handle all this transaction for the user in a privacy preserving manner so that they still hold the positions for this futures option, whatever things that they want to do, or maybe yield position on Morpha, whatever other stuffs out there, in a privately manner on Miden without leaving the privacy of Miden. That's what Epoch enables over there. And that's how we elevate the user experience so that users still achieving what they wanted to achieve, which is privacy and also hold a position on DeFi assets. And Epoch is making it all possible with our intent-based solutions out there.
So, what makes Epoch itself private, though? I mean, if I'm expressing myself using Miden to say I want to do a certain financial transaction, and then I'm interacting with Epoch at that intent layer, how is Epoch keeping my instructions, my data that I'm giving to Miden, secret or private?
So one thing that I love about Miden is that we talk about, like, Miden talks about gradual privacy, like privacy and programmable, gradual and programmable privacy. So they can give out users as much privacy as they want. If you're a trading desk, you can still publicly disclose these things to a regulatory authority to check your transaction, but you can keep this transaction all private from other users out there. The same way Epox works over there as well, where whatever intents you give us, it's secured in, like, it's, there's a different node that we're running only for Miden right now. So all the transaction, all the intents are only going through that node, and that node is not publicly connected out there. And the
Right.
solvers that we run is also with a part of Miden ecosystem as well. So all the solvers and all the liquidity will only be used for the Miden chain. So far, what we have started doing with the POC and with the initial step is that we can take care of everything on the EVM side of the things, but on the Miden side of the things, we would be taking some information for the users to make this association for users on EVM chain and the Miden chain right now. But as we move
Okay.
forward with this partnerships and with this roadmap, so that Miden also, and then we are working on the ZK proof and things around that as well, so that all the position that the user also holds and interact with Epoch are also private for the users, and even Epoch will not be able to see that in future.
Right.
So that's like gradual privacy steps that we are taking right now.
Yeah, it's interesting around gradual privacy because a lot of people think privacy is about, it's like being pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant, but it's more like, there are levels of privacy that you can be private with the operator, you can be private with the regulator, you can be private with other participants, the different types of privacy, and within that there could be different gradients as well. So that's kind of interesting. Um, okay, so just give us a sense of what the next 6 months looks like in terms of Epoch developing with Miden and privacy.
Yeah. So next 6 month, Epoch is onboarding a lot of institutions, banks, and TradFi company on Web3. So our core focus at Epoch is to provide this rails for on-chain finance for anyone out there. It can be dApps, banks, or institutions. And institution and bank and everyone who's on the TradFi side of things want privacy. So Miden becomes a default solution from them right now. Right. So that's where we love Miden team, and then we started working with them over there. So the next 6 months is all focused on onboarding more and more banks, institution, payroll companies, payment provider, and also AI agents out there right now onto Epoch ecosystem, and they start using our APIs or SDK to do this intents for the users and for their own selves. So that's the whole next 6 months is going to be around just tracking on volume so that we can bring more volume inside the ecosystem. We can do more transaction, and that's it. That's our whole North Star metric for the next 6 months, just volume.
And what about intents and the greater internet itself? Do you see intents changing how we interact online, in a bigger way going forward? I mean, in 5 years' time, people have talked about the sort of the end of these kind of clunky, kind of mechanical interfaces that we have with the internet. Do you see things being voice activated and more intent driven in the future?
Yes, that is still going on, to be honest. So with AI agents and every AI model and agent platform that's coming out there, what they're trying to do is like reduce this frictions and reduce this user experience to a single chat level. But the problem with them is that AI agents are really good at inference and decision making on behalf of the user. So let's say if a user comes in and say, "Hey, I just want to open up a long on Bitcoin. I want to earn delta neutral trades." The AI agents can go out, track the whole data from Bloomberg, every other website, CryptoRank, CoinMarketCap, check all the data for the history of tokens. They can create a portfolio for them that, hey, you can invest 20% in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum, 10% in Solana, 10% in gold, 10% in Tesla, and like other stocks market as well, right? That's where the AI engine power stops over there, because they are really good at deducing and creating inference and then creating portfolios and doing this all this intelligent stuff. But wherever they want really concrete answers like opening up positions, they need to plug into other solution and infrastructure like Epoch. So that's where Epoch comes in. So AI agents right now, like the agents that we're working with right now, they're also working on everything on the inference side of the things, where they are making portfolio for the users. But once the portfolio is decided and user wants to execute that portfolio, like get all these tokens, they are just calling Epoch API, API, sorry, where they're just saying that, hey, the user wants to invest $10,000, and this is their portfolio that they want to do, like 20% in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum, 10% in Tesla stock, 10% in Google stock, 10% in gold. And then Epoch takes over for the on-chain transaction part, the financial hub, the on-chain Rails part, where within a single API, let's just sign a single transaction, move the funds to an escrow, and then we take care of all this transaction happening on-chain in a much more deterministic manner. So AI agents are not deterministic. They're like more on the inference side of things, and Epochs does most of this deterministic stuff where they get the positions out there. So in
Right.
future, what I believe, all the tabs and everyone can move forward and just be a chat interface with this AI agents, and then AI agents can handle all this stuff. But they'll still need something, this calls where they can do on-chain calls and everything like this capability. So that's where Epoch plugs in.
Can I plug my Epoch into my Claude?
There are like over here in New York, I've met some people who are actually using Epoch API inside their Claude and inside their AI agent, and they're making small trades every now and then and checking the market, and randomly bumped into those people over events over here. So yeah, you can
Interesting.
literally plug our Epoch API into your agent, just give it a keys, your wallet, and that's it. The agent will be able to sign the transaction, invest into different stuff, get RFQ and all sort of stuff.
But that's not something you're supporting at the moment. It's just something that people have done on their own.
So we are working with some AI agents company as well, but
Right.
this is like this few people that I've just met. They have just read about us or like listened to what we are building, and then they're just asking the cloud, "Hey, can we integrate Epoch into our ecosystem, into my portfolio?" And then the cloud is integrated themselves by default. And the new things also is that we are introducing RWS as well into the ecosystem. So not only the crypto
Right.
assets, but also stocks, gold, all these things. So that's where also their portfolio manager, like this agent portfolio managers, also come plays a really good role, and Epoch plays a really good role for them.
Just in terms of the crypto market, how do you see that shaping out in the next 6 months as well? Do you see crypto becoming more about tokenization, about RWAs and traditional assets coming on chain? What about sort of native alternative assets? What's your outlook for those?
I'll give you an analytical, like statistical answer on this one. So if you look at on chain, like RWA.xy, RWA5, whatever the website is for the RWA checking, right? The total RWA assets minted on chain, including the stable coins, is roughly close to around $300 billion, right? And if you just go out and check the books, that how much holdings does JP Morgan or GS alone, a single bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan holds, is close to $4 trillion, right? If you just go out and check what's the pension fund right now, like 401k fund over here in US, it's close to $14 trillion. So you see the gap that I'm talking about, that the whole market for crypto was created for payments, for access to forex currency, like for access to assets, capital markets on chain, and a lot of finance like TradFi, DeFi activity out there, right? But crypto being so consolidated in a single space and like so small, like reaching to a really small use case because of the user experience that we had so far, and the access was also limited, we haven't grown that much. We think, we as in crypto people, like crypto native guys, like working in this industry for 7 and 11 years, we think that crypto has reached its potential, but it's just getting started. If you just look at the numbers out there, look at the statistics, right? So over here, I've been talking to a lot of TradFi people, RWA institutions, banks, and everyone is talking about these two acts that are getting introduced in US, Genius and Clarity Act. Both gives like banks ability to mint stable coins, and I believe so in like around 20 states here in United States, the banks do not even need a license, like money transmitter license or any other license to mint a stablecoin. They can just declare, like they can just disclose to the federal bank that, hey, we are looking to do this stuff, and they can just start doing this thing. There's no contract required. And then I believe so. I was talking to someone on the RWA and the stablecoin side of things, and he was like, around $200 or $300,000 can get you license in all the 50 states in US to mint stablecoin for them, for a bank. Now think about that more and more banks are going to create their own stable coins. So a lot of more currency is going to come on chain, like the stable coins are going to come on chain. Then RW projects, we're working with few RW projects as well. So they are putting private credit on chain, carbon emissions on chain, real estates on chain, gold on chain, like different things on chain, and creating this assets class. So this whole capital market is trying to come on chain, and then this is much more easier for investors to invest into, like institutional and hedge funds and this people to invest into this stuff. So I
Yeah.
believe in the next not maybe 6 months, or maybe 1.5 years, we're gonna see a lot more RWA payments company come on chain. So payments has a really good use case on crypto, because by doing stablecoin transaction, the cross-border payments fees reduces drastically. Because let's say if right now I'm paying money from US to someone in Africa, they're like 2 or 3 times the forex currency exchange that I'm paying right now. Then there's Swift transfer weight, which is like around 3 to 5 business days. So all this
Yeah.
weight, all this fees goes down with stablecoin transactions. And for the RWA, it just gives access to more people on the RWA side of things, and more clarity that how much particular assets is worth of, how much assets it's on there on the book and everything around there.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think it's quite funny listening to crypto people, how insular we are about our own little world. And we
Yeah.
kind of measure success by how our little assets are doing. But the bigger picture is much bigger than kind of native crypto. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Akshit, for everything you're doing with Miden, and thanks for being on the podcast today. And great to talk to you. And everyone, this was Akshit from Epoch, and check out their work at Epoch Protocol. It's definitely foundational to the future of the on-chain economy. That's why we're working with them at Miden. So thanks, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me on the show, Ben. I'll hope to see you soon in person as well.
Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Privacy Podcast. I'm Ben Schiller, and we'll see you next time. I just want to give a shout out to Michelle Musso and Musso Media, which is producing the show, and she does a great job. Her team does a great job. So hats off to her, and we'll see you next time. Bye.